What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Bench Sheet Podcast. I'm George Niang. This is my co-host, Kevin Spees. Excited to be back. We're actually filming our first episode here in Atlanta. It's been a little hectic over the last couple of weeks. Obviously I got traded, but I'm here. We're in Atlanta. But before we get started on this episode, lock into what Kevin has to say about.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's March. You know what March means.
Madness.
The madness. March Madness.
Yes.
It is the number one betting opportunity for the whole month. You got conference tournaments. You got the big tournament.
Yes.
You got player props.
Ooh.
You can't bet on colleges in New Jersey because I think of the Mafia. I'm not really sure why, but you can't bet on colleges in New Jersey. Everywhere else you can.
Yeah, he's dialed in.
My bookie. Use promo code GrillGuy. We got to get 22 signups in March.
Come on.
If
22?
you're watching this, just sign up. You get a free bet deposit. Meaning if you put $500 in as a deposit, you get a free $250. You put in $2,000, which is the cap, you'll get a free $1,000 worth of bets.
Come on, what are we doing?
Maybe you're not a big bettor. I'm not a big bettor. But what I'll do is I'll put $100 in and get 50 free bets.
That's free money.
That's free money. So sign up MyBookie, use promo code GrillGuy. If you like us and you love us, you'll subscribe and like first to the podcast.
Yeah.
But then you'll also go sign up to MyBookie.
Come on.
And that's
22
it.
signups. That's all we need. Ain't nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy. I think we go for 100.
Why not?
Yeah. Let's start here. Mr. Niang, we are in Atlanta.
ATL.
Welcome to Atlanta where the players play. And you are one of the players, I believe.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about the experience of the game as a fan because it was lit, as they would say. Big game last night. Again, came down to the wire. You guys have, basically every game you play in, it's coming down to the wire.
Yeah.
Another shot to cut it to one. You had the shot, but look, all you can ask for is getting the shot. That's all you can ask for. Some
Shut
false,
up, dude. Fuck it. We don't have to relive that. Acting like this is Sports Center.
It wasn't on SportsCenter. I watched it this morning. How has it been now? We're 2 weeks in. You feeling a little more like?
Oh, definitely. I'm definitely feeling acclimated. This group has been phenomenal. We're in every single game. I think it just goes to show you that, we have a hard playing group, and, if you can win in the small margins, you probably end up winning games. And that's kind of where we're looking and growing and gelling still together. But it's been an awesome process. I think, Coach Quinn has us, heading in the right direction, or I know he has us heading in the right direction. And we're growing at the right pace, at the right time. We have a whole month and a half until the regular season ends, and I'm excited to see where this takes us.
You talked about your coach who was out with flu-like symptoms, and the bloggers are saying it was you that gave him the flu because you were out the day before.
Yeah, Kevin's always going to try and stir the pot here on this podcast, but we're not going to allow that type of BS behavior. I was actually out against Memphis because I had flu-like symptoms. So we're not going to say that I gave that to our coach. But, flu season is among us, and sometimes that shit does happen.
Here's what
But you want to play the fucking blame game all the time.
Here's what I want to know. As a teacher for 10 years, if I had the flu, I had to call up and be like, hey, I'm sick. I can't come in today. Calling in sick. Do you guys do that?
Yeah, newsflash, Kevin.
Who do you call? You don't call your coach.
No, you go in to work and get tested out, either be you going to the nurse's office or me going into the trainer's office.
And then they test you for flu and they're like, bro, you got to go home?
You tell them that you're not feeling well, and then they test you for the flu, and then you go home.
Okay, Here's my question, though. What if those days
act like we're like some Morpheus weird people.
What I'm asking is, when you're so sick that you're not getting out of bed, right?
Yeah, so then you would probably call in.
Who would you call?
The trainer.
You call the trainer.
Yeah.
You'd be like, yo, bro, I'm cooked.
Hey, man. Hey, man, say, man.
Hey, man, say, man.
No, I would just call him and tell him, hey, I'm not feeling well. Why are you acting like this is
because
weird?
This is fascinating to people who are not in the NBA.
Yeah, so you essentially would have called in and be like, hey, I'm not feeling good. So there's been circumstances where, one time in Utah, I had food poisoning. I was with Philly. We were in Utah. It was my first time coming back to Utah. I was playing in Philly, and I had food poisoning. Damn. So in the middle of the night, it's both ends. Real pressure, both ends.
Did you order a pizza?
I don't know what I had ate, but I woke up in the middle of the night and I was calling our trainer and be like, what can I get to feel better. And what's the acidic stuff that kind of
Pepto?
no, it's something
Zofran?
else. Anyway, we'll figure. I forgot what I took, but I took that, and then I kept like throwing up, and it came out the other end, and I ended up missing shoot around, and then I was like determined to play.
Yeah.
And I remember having like a nurse come in during my nap time up to the hotel room and like pumping me with IV fluids, like vitamin B shots, all this other stuff to get out there and play. And I remember I got to the locker room and Doc was like, that Utah flu, huh? Sounds like you were having a little extra fun last night.
And I was
like,
over.
yeah, and I was like, that's the worst part because Chandler Parsons said it on his. He was like, if anyone sits out for back spasms or flu-like symptoms, you know that they're hungover. And I'm like, great. It also didn't help that, I don't drink anymore, but I was at Iowa State, the night before when I was actually not feeling well. And then the next day I came back and had the flu. So people were like, oh.
You're like, no, I seriously do have the flu.
Yeah, but we won in Memphis, so it really doesn't matter. But Coach Q, I hope you feel better.
He's just hungover.
Feeling like that is no bueno. No, he doesn't do that stuff.
No? Okay. Speaking of that Memphis game, by the way, Memphis is playing really good basketball. That's a really good team you guys beat in Memphis.
That was their third loss in a row.
Well, I'm still.
Oh, okay.
They're fourth in the West. They're playing good basketball overall. And again, it comes down to Dyson Daniels just making a play. Is he like that in like shoot around? Like, can you just not? Is this motherfucker just constantly stealing the ball? And does he steal other things of yours? Does he steal your shoes?
steals my chicks, mate. And the Great Barrier Thief.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dyson has like a really cool persona about him because he's just like super laid back, chilled. And then when it comes to basketball, he's just a hound on the defensive end. I've honestly never seen anything like this before. And it's just impressive how he just takes the challenge of like every player every night. And it's like stealing the ball is hard, right?
Yeah.
Like once a game, right? He averages 3 steals a game, and he's guarding the best player. He's not guarding like 7 through 12 or 5 through 10. He's guarding 1 through 3, and he's picking their pocket. Like guys that like have the ball on a yo-yo, that's the most impressive part is you actually got to sit there, guard this person, not let them score, and then be able to manipulate them to steal the ball, to have hands like that, athleticism. Atlanta got a steal with that one. I mean,
a steal, no pun intended.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you look at the stats, I don't know what the numbers are now, but it's like the closest person is like 35 less steals or something like that.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I would say that number is even too low.
Yeah. But is he like that in practice too? Are you like, this motherfucker just constantly stealing the shit from people or not?
No,
really?
I mean, in the NBA, as the season goes on, like your practices are more like walkthroughs, not like 100%. But I'm sure if he wanted to, he could lead the league in steals per practice. That'd be a thing to go for next year, Dyson.
He also has one of the smoothest little right-handed floaters going left. He had like 4 of them last night. I was like, this guy does it. He missed one, I think. He does not miss that shot.
Yeah, I just think it's like the cool thing about the NBA is always like opportunity, time, and place, right?
Yeah.
You think about what was needed in New Orleans while he was there and he was kind of getting the short end of the stick, and then Atlanta trades for him, and this is an opportunity for him to grow and fit into the right role, and look how he's like kind of taken off. And I don't think guys get enough credit for this because when you're a young guy, you've played basketball your whole life. Dyson was essentially one of the best players
in his country.
Exactly. And you come to the United States, you get drafted high, you don't play. It could be so easy for him to just be like, you know what, F this, like American basketball wasn't for me, but no, the kid stayed down till he came up, got traded, and then was given the opportunity. And rather than not being prepared for the opportunity, he's thrived.
Yeah.
And now it's like, whoa, like look what this kid can do. And it's like he's probably always been able to do it, but he had to stay sharp, had to stay patiently relentless until he got his opportunity. And now he's gotten his opportunity, and now it's like there's no turning back because everybody has seen
it.
what you can do, and it's amazing. I've never seen anything like it as a defender. Like, not saying I'm a defender, but as a from the defensive side of the ball, I've never seen anything.
It's
like
crazy because he's also, I mean, he's just so long and he's quick. But as you said, stealing is so much timing.
Yeah.
It's just like understand. Like if you think about it, you got to start your movement to steal a ball like before it hits the ground and know where it's going to, you know what I mean? And he picks it. He's just gone.
Yeah.
And then let alone when he's getting in passing lanes and stealing the ball, you know, from passing lanes and shit like that, which is a totally different skill set. Really impressive. And another guy that's a similar situation is, like we've talked about before, Terrence Mann played a great game last night, taking advantage of his opportunity, coming in, knocking down threes. I mean, he had it going last night.
Yeah, no, he's done a tremendous job. You know, to come from being injured with the Clippers, first time being traded, coming to Atlanta and, you know, making threes, making plays. He's been phenomenal. Shout out to 978. Me and him are from the same area.
Now, so I was in the family room, which I wasn't supposed to be in. Somehow I got into the family room. I was hoping to get into the locker room. Again, I haven't got there yet. I can't wait to see these guys with their shirts off. But eventually, hopefully I'll get in there. I'll get a media pass. But Terrence Mann's mom was back there, which I thought was just so cool. Like your mom coming to an NBA game. How fucking cool is that? She had the T-shirt with him on.
You know, she coached.
Oh, she did.
She coached. I think it was the Atlanta Dream. Yeah, back.
So it's a hooping family.
Yeah, and she also coached in college. So he's, he's from a hooping family. He gets it.
I was going to ask you if you knew her.
Yeah, I did. Me and Terrence Mann actually went to the same high school.
Yeah.
So I've gotten to, see her. We've known each other for a long time. He's from Lowell. I'm from Methuen. So yesterday was like the first time I've seen her since me and Terrence were actually inducted in our high school Hall of Fame at the same time. So
you did do the same.
Yeah, that was actually really cool. And yeah, whenever you can grow up kind of together with someone and then you get to the mountaintop, it's really cool to celebrate that.
Man, I was thinking that exact same thing because I saw you talking with Pat Connaughton, who I know is a Massachusetts guy.
Yeah.
And I
probably about some real estate investment. Pat, we're on to you, man. Let us get in for free, no managerial fees.
He was wearing a really nice watch that from the stands, it was glistening.
He was. Always supporting, it's like 3-leaf clover development or something. Always supporting this stuff. By the way, this segment is sponsored here by Starbucks.
No free money.
Get your Starbucks.
No free money. But I know you and we talked about it on the Duncan Robinson episode. It's fucking so cool that you guys were teenagers. How many of you guys were like teenagers in Massachusetts that are now in the league? It's
me, Pat Connaughton, Duncan Robinson, Shabazz Napier, Wayne Selden, Nerlens Noel, Noah Vonleh.
Oh, yeah, Noah Vonleh. I forgot about him.
Bruce Brown.
He's from Massachusetts?
Terrence Mann, yep.
Okay.
Michael Carter Williams.
Okay. So what's that like? Like you guys, it's such a fucking cool idea that you're like high school kids working to get there. And I'm sure there's a lot of kids that you thought were going to be here back then that aren't. Do you ever have reflective moments where you're like, damn, like we kind of made it up. We made it. We're here.
Yeah. I mean, the tough part is when we were growing up in Boston or like in the outskirts of Boston, because there's some kids that like when you're from Massachusetts, like you say you're from Boston, you're not from Boston. They're like,
they get pissed.
You're from the outskirts.
Yeah.
So
you're like, relax.
I'm from the outskirts, but I think the toughest thing in Boston is that we never really had anybody that had like made it from Boston that could come back and be like, yeah, this dude made it and come back and run a camp. So it was always like the motivation to be that guy to make it, right? And I was lucky enough to have like high school teammates like Alex Oriaki, Jamal Coombs, McDaniel, Gerard Coleman, who all were like committed to go to UConn, like Providence, Gonzaga,
Studs.
All those places. But I remember like the first two that like, or three that made it were like Shabazz Napier, Michael Carter Williams, because he was a lottery pick and then was, rookie of the year.
Stud.
And then like
Philly.
Nerlens Noel made it. And that's when it was like, okay, I'm in college and like Terrence and those guys were younger than us. They were still in high school. But then it was like we saw the blueprint because we were actually around those guys and saw how they worked. And it was like, okay, we have someone to like look up to. I want to get to where they're at. Like I remember Michael Carter Williams after his rookie of the year, talking about NBA stories, and you're in college, you're like, damn, I got to get there now. Like, Then the next year, Nerlens, is playing because he was injured his first year. And you're like, dang, now, I got to get there. Then you're seeing Shabazz Napier having a good year. And when he was in Miami, you're like, okay.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, I have something to look at. And I just hope that the Hoopers of Boston, now feel like they have, a group of individuals that they can look up to and be like, okay, like these are the group of kids that were kind of are in and around the same age that made it. Obviously, it was terrible what happened with Terrence Clark and the passing of him before he was able to make it to the NBA. But I think overall, as a collective group, we definitely could do a better job as older guys coming back and getting involved in the city.
Yeah.
And kind of, showing these kids that, we're the same kids that you were that made it professionally.
They like, it's almost like you can believe it when you see it.
Yeah.
It's probably hard to believe you can get there until you see people that are close to you actually get there. You're like, oh, I can get there. I can do it.
You're like, this work that he did actually transpired into something.
Yeah. I don't know if this is true, but there's a dude that used to coach at NJIT. Jeff Rafferty's from Boston.
Oh, okay.
He's at Bowdoin, I think, first. And now he's
good
in
NESCAC school.
Yeah. And then now he's at North Carolina A&T. He's the
okay, we got the HBCU.
Yeah. Is that you stepping? We gotta get you stepping.
You don't do that because one time I did that in Philly. Well, there was an HBCU performing and someone rolled up on me.
They're
and
like, do not do that.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah. I went to Temple and there were steppers at Temple. We watch it the first nice day.
Yeah, I was like, I wasn't making fun of it. I actually think it's cool that you guys have rhythm.
Yeah. It is cool. And when you see 10 dudes do it,
you're
and
it's all in rhythm. You're like, respect.
It's cool. It's cool shit to watch. Yeah, exactly. But he was saying that he recruited a kid to NJIT who was the first student in 15 years to get a D1 scholarship out of Boston public schools.
I believe that because prep schools is a real big thing. I'm going to let you guys in on a secret, but in New England, when someone isn't usually as great as they want to be, they'll stay back. Yeah. I did that in the 10th grade, kind of get a boost.
You reclass a little bit?
So I did sophomore year 2 times. They're like, oh, wait, that kid's a sophomore?
Why is he?
If he was a junior, he'd be all right. But nah, he's a sophomore.
So
prep school hoops is kind of the way to do it in New England. But I understand that because growing up in these inner cities, and I've never had to go through this, as a coach, you only have a finite amount of time to coach the kid and then kind of have him be impressionable with what he does outside of the basketball court, right? You only have an hour and a half of practice, and whatever he does out there, he could be going back home to a situation where he doesn't have food, his home life is crazy, where prep school is you're taking this kid out of this situation and he's going to a prep school where he's literally surrounded by kids that parents are millionaires, billionaires, or whatever. He has facilities that he can use all the time. He has food. He has food. He has teachers that are trying to help him. He can focus on school, his social life, and basketball. And the social life is monitored, so there's no oh, he was wrong place, wrong time. There was a weapon or this. So it takes them completely out of that, and it gives them a chance to really get the opportunity to thrive and grow at the next level, and give them the tools to be hey, that stuff really isn't for me. I have bigger aspirations. Because when you're from 13 to 18, it's easy to get caught up in the wrong things. 18, you're fully developed and you're grown. Because I think we've seen too many stories of kids growing up in situations where oh, that dude could have made it if he could have stayed out of the streets. And it's or stayed out of trouble. And it's you want to completely just avoid that.
And that goes for when most people talk about that, they talk about the kids that are going to go oh my God, this kid could have gone to Kentucky, but he got caught in the streets. There are twice as many kids that are man, this kid could have gone and played 4 years at a Division III basketball school and got a degree and got out, but he couldn't leave that's what I saw all the time. I saw kids that were really solid hoopers that weren't going to get a scholarship, but could have gone somewhere and played. And it's there's one kid, and I talked to him yesterday, he FaceTimed me. It's this this kid went to a local school, played 4 years, got a degree, and now has like a big boy job. It's like, it's so rare when you're going to these rough public schools, man. It's like,
yeah,
you
I think the biggest thing is that people get misconstrued is like basketball is one thing, but you want to win at the overall game of life. So like, even in college, when guys are like, I'm trying to go to the league, da da da, and if I don't make the league, I don't know what I'm gonna do. It's like, no, like try and make basketball obviously something that you enjoy, but the goal is to make enough money to support your life, to grow, to live comfortable, to take care of your family. Like there's nothing wrong. Overseas is a great league and they pay real money. So,
or even just getting free college. Like, bro, you got free college.
Getting out of college and having no debt, people do not understand how
a lot of money
that is.
Yeah, I'm still paying that shit off. So sign up for my bookie so I can continue paying off these student loans. Okay, one thing we do have to respond to is a social clip we saw from our friends of the pod.
Run the clip.
Josh Hart talking about George Niang.
So this is a video of Niang missing the game-winning shot against us. Was this before break? Yeah,
right before break.
And Josh pointing diabolically into his face.
It's so funny. I feel like people maybe don't know that you're pretty good, you're friendly with a lot of these people. Like I remember the Donovan chain pop. People were like freaking out because obviously it was peak like Knicks Cavs rivalry. But like you and Donovan are close. Obviously you wouldn't do that if to someone. Yeah, like I don't think people like
to do that with someone you actually hate is diabolical.
Yeah, that's crazy. But like I like to have, obviously like bro, I'm playing basketball. I'm playing a game. I like to have fun. Like just because like other people take this as like life or death, which is.
All right, I'm gonna stop you right there. If Josh missed that shot, right, and I pointed in his face like that, you'd be sick.
Oh, for sure.
Exactly, bro. So don't talk about it's not life or death. That's a moment like he missed the game-winning shot. He's probably like, "Damn, I just missed," because he was wide open.
Wide open.
Wide open.
And I was like, "Ah, damn!" When he shot it, I was like, "Oh, this is the cash."
Yeah, when he shot, I was like,
"Yep, well."
But don't say life or death because you'd be pissed if someone did it to you.
I for sure would be.
Exactly.
So. Gee, if you were sick about that, bro, my fault.
He was a good sport about it.
Yeah, no, he was cool about it.
I would have slapped the shit out of you.
My fault. My fault, bro.
I was pissed, and like the only thing that I could do in a controllable, acting like a mature adult, because they said they would slap the shit out of someone. They're not slapping the shit out of someone.
No,
because that would result in a fine. Like my boy Ty Jerome scene.
Yeah, which we'll get to.
No, but you know, obviously that was a situation where there's just a lot to digest, and I was more or less pissed at myself. And it is a game, and then the game is over. Like, yes, you can be upset about it, but there's no need to act like a child. And that's why you see, like, I kind of like pointed back in the face because I really wanted to just like put my finger in his eye.
You had a smirk on your face. You were like, "Shut up."
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. He's a prankster. He knows what he does, and at the end of the day, it all comes back full circle.
So maybe next time you hit him.
Yeah. What?
No, not like that. I mean, like you hit the shot.
Oh yeah.
Well, it was cool to give him that they gave you your flowers a little bit too, because they know, like, motherfuckers know if you get an open shot, a lot of times it's going in.
Yeah, for sure.
They were shook. That's got to feel cool. I mean, you probably don't give a shit, but
yeah, but I'd like to make it.
Yeah. Okay, so Josh Hart, we heard your message, and
appreciate you, man. Like, subscribe, shout out the podcast on your.
They are cool. I'm going to be in town when they play. We've talked about it when they play in April. It's a 3:00 game, April 5th. That's going to be fun, and I might be sitting courtside. Because I have friends
loves
here.
High school sports, and to talk about how he might have his feet on the wood.
I never had my foot on wood before. Big pause. That's a wiener joke. Okay, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Rookie of the Year race, because you have one here in Atlanta that's not getting as much talk about him, but I think he's playing really good basketball. Yeah. And obviously Zachary Risache. But right now, the top two favorites, I guess, are Jalen Wells and Stephon Castle. What have you thought? I don't think you've played the Spurs yet this year, have you?
No, I haven't played the Spurs, and I haven't played the Grizzlies. I think Jalen Wells is, it's extremely impressive what he's done.
Yeah.
Over the course of the year, to be in a situation where, guys are in and out of the lineup, but you're still effective. You shoot the ball at an efficient rate, and you're on a winning team, right?
Yeah.
So to find ways to implement yourself in the game and be a part of a winning team and have good stats is extremely impressive.
And another dude who was a Division II out of high school.
Yeah, he went to Washington State. It's been impressive. Super big fan of his game. Obviously, Stephen Castle is someone that like is just going to continue to grow and get better, right? Like he's obviously going to be someone that's going to be extremely talented and have a long NBA career. He just continues to get better from when he's played in the championship game at UConn to now. Obviously, his team hasn't had as much success, but individual success, he's been top of the top, creme de la creme, and it's been impressive to see. And then you talk about my teammate Zachary Risache, and I don't think he gets enough credit because he's coming over, language barrier, style of play. He actually was coming to a team that is, in win now mode. So nobody's like, hey, here's the ball.
Yeah.
Just play around and do whatever you have to do. He actually gets like, when he does stuff like that, he probably gets taken out of the game. So he has to play basketball and mistake-free basketball. And over the last month or two, it's been extremely impressive to see how efficient he is. He's 6'10", he can shoot, he's fearless. Like the one thing I respect about him is as a rookie, and he's 19 years old, is some people come in and they're like, oh, I want to fit in. No, he's trying to fit out. Like if there's someone that, is scoring on the other team, he's taking the challenge to guard them. He never backs down from anybody. And I just think his overall skill set, like he's 6'10", he can dribble, he can shoot,
run.
Yeah, and he's like runs like a deer. He's going to be a problem, and I'm excited that I get to be on the same team as him. Sometimes I teach him some English cuss words, like when a ref, doesn't give him a call, I'll be like, "Fuck out of here."
You say that?
So every time we see each other, he's like, "Fuck out of here."
I was gonna ask you if you do a Zachary impression because your Embiid impression is top notch. Do you have a French one in your bag or not?
I don't know if I got one for the Frenchie. I need a couple. I need a couple more weeks around my guy before I start.
Well, I just think about like, do you ever look at a picture of yourself at 19 and you're like, bro, that's a different body. Like it's just a fully different human. Yeah. So for him to do this at 19, in 5-6 years, he's going to be a totally different dude. And like, he's going to grow into his body. I can only imagine the sky's the limit for this dude.
Yeah. He's going to be something special. And with the size that he has, he's 6'10", long arms, his skill set. And the coolest part is his desire to be great. And I just think every time you come in the gym, you see him working on his body or working on his game. Like he's in tune and he knows what needs to happen for him to be good, and he's dialed in on that. Like he's not satisfied.
Yeah, you're like, this guy's got it.
Yeah. Like he understands. He's 19 years old, and like he's not cool with just like I made it here. Like sometimes I'll tell him when they're like, Zach, you got to do this. I'm like, nah, Zach, tell him that's why you're the number one pick.
Yeah, like a lot of people could be satisfied with that though. Like,
and like cool. He's like, but he's starting to get in that swagger and that arrogance about him. Like he knows he's good.
That's good. Okay, I do want to ask you a little bit about person that I think is the greatest of all time, and that's LeBron James scoring 50,000 points.
Dude.
I mean, 50,000 points is insane. And then you look at the stats where it's like his MVP season, he was averaging like 26 points. Basically, since turning 40, all of his stats are better except scoring is like 0.3 less. Like he's putting up numbers of his MVP season at fucking 40 years old.
Yeah, I think when we had Tristan Thompson on our podcast, he said it best. I mean, he's box office.
Yeah.
Like people come to see
him. Still.
Yeah, I mean, what he's doing is impressive. Like you're 40 years old and like when you move up and down the court, it's like, is this dude 40 years old? Like, I don't know, because the way that he's doing it is extremely impressive. And I think it's a credit to him and in how he's taking care of his body. And there's been a lot of talk about people not wanting to be the face of the league, and then LeBron being the face of the league and the scrutiny that comes with it. And to have that weight on your shoulders for the last 20 plus years.
Your whole life.
I think he's done a tremendous job, and he's grown the league at an exceptional rate. And obviously there's things to nitpick about his game and
or his personality.
Like I'm sure there's things that people don't like about everybody, but the proof is in the pudding. Like 50,000 points is fucking unreal.
One of the things I love doing is sparking arguments with white dudes in their 40s about LeBron James being better than Michael Jordan.
You're like, no way. No fucking way.
You want to
Dude, that dude got to the mountaintop and he never left. Matter of fact, he took 2 years off in between and then came back. It's like
6-0.
Yeah, it's like everybody had their trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
Don't worry, like I grew up, like I only got to see the back half of Michael Jordan's career, and it was like he was the guy.
Yeah.
But honestly, like you grow up, these new generation of kids, all they know is LeBron.
That's it.
Yeah. It's like I didn't really get to see Larry Bird, but when I see YouTube highlights of Larry Bird, it's like that guy's in my top 5. Like if I were to do a top 5.
We got to get to that. So I want to, we've never done that before.
Oh, okay.
Before I ask you that, what I think pisses people off the most about, or like, again, like older dudes in their, it's like older white dudes in their 40s is basically what it is like you said, I think they have this mystique that Jordan was like the ultimate competitor, and like maybe he was or whatever, but there was also 8 years where Jordan couldn't sniff an NBA finals. Like his first 7 years, he couldn't sniff an NBA finals. And it was like LeBron was taking, no offense to the people that were there, but that 07 Cavaliers team might've been the worst team to ever make the NBA finals. Did you ever see
No, and I hate to do that because if someone did that to me, if I'm playing on a superstar, they'd be like, oh yeah, George Niang was on that team. I would be like, suck it. So we're not going to do that.
Okay.
Because I know what you're getting at.
I know,
you're about to rattle off someone's name and they're about to see it and someone's going to tag them and they're going to be like, fuck those
like
dudes.
You idiot. Like, yeah. I mean, it goes back to the Scalabrine thing. It's like the worst player in the NBA is closer to LeBron than I am to them.
Yeah.
But what they all say now, this guy I argue with, all he just says is LeBron's on PEDs. And I'm like,
yeah, sure. Make a blanket statement that nobody can really argue.
Okay. So what about Tom Brady? Well, Tom Brady took care of himself. Tom Brady, it's like your argument's fucking so dumb. It's like in this day and age with science, you can do things with the body if you really dedicate yourself that you wouldn't be able to do, 20 years ago. Okay, enough of that. Before we get to your top 5, we have one more thing I have to ask you about.
What?
And that is our boy, friend of the pod, Ty Jerome.
Ty Jerome, he was getting a little lippy, man.
I mean, $25,000 is a fucking fine, bro. That's a car.
I think one of the older guys is going to take care of that for him.
Well, is that usually what happens?
Yeah, I mean, what is 25 grand to some of those guys that are making 40 million a year? So
Yeah.
I'm sure someone is making sure that's not coming out of his paycheck.
Okay.
So he should be all right, but that is a hefty fine. Ballsy move by him.
What did you think about? Because he actually called the ref out by name. I think that's why he got such a big fine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get fined for even partaking in this, but Ty knows what he should have done better there. But that was funny. That's just Ty being Ty. Just a chill guy. He didn't get over emotional about it, like raising his voice, but
He was like, I just thought everyone was bad. I thought Heather particularly was really bad. It's like, dude, you can't really do that.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, and at the end of the day, like this is the dog days of the season. Like refs are gonna have tough games, just like you have tough games. But that's our guy. So
yeah. But when you see that come through the wire, like when you see that on ESPN, do you guys ever like text each other like, golly, like 25K?
Nah, bro, you're wildin'. For real?
Yeah, and then he'll like say something back.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to it. One thing we've never done, speaking of LeBron, and also I saw something today that was like what sparked my or our idea of doing this was I saw something on First Take that was like, should Steph be in consideration for the greatest of all time? I have my own take on that, which we could get to, or maybe we don't get to. But I've never heard your top 5 or even maybe your top 10 of all time, if you can do 10. And I'll write it down so you're like, so you know where you're at. Who's your greatest of all time?
Michael Jordan.
Okay, MJ. I'm not even angry at it, but go ahead.
But that's like I was like in that age where like that was if I could be like my
Okay,
number 2. So that was like so you said top 5?
Yeah, so who's number 2?
Okay, so Mike,
Yeah.
Kobe,
Wow.
Braun, Larry Bird, Steph Curry.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Boston, and then
But why Steph Curry in your top five?
because-
you got to argue for this.
because people were like, "Oh, Steph Curry had KD, blah blah blah," blah, and he heard all that backlash, right? Like, you know, and then what he did with that Golden State team to then win them a championship when they all came back to the same group of like Draymond, Clay, Wiggins, like, and brought that, like, that was when he had that performance in Boston, I was like, nah, he's in my top 5 now. Before that, he was not in my top 5. I probably would have said like Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yeah. Can I give my argument for why I don't think he's this is like, again, it's fucked up for me to say I'm a loser on a couch.
Yeah, we get that. So say your loser ass statement of why he shouldn't be in your top 5. I can't wait to fucking rebuttal this. Go.
It's really one thing. It comes down to this.
What?
He has won 4 championships.
Yeah.
And he's been, according to the people who give out the awards, the best player on one of those teams. That's a hard thing. If you're going to be a top 5 of all time, you were the best player on that team once. It's like Iguodala won it, KD won it twice, and then he won it. So it's hard for me to be like, all right, you're a top 5 of all time. I know how unfair that sounds. And I also think...
So is KD in top 5?
I think KD's in my top 10, though. I think KD... No, most people won't put KD in their top 10.
Is Steph in your top 10?
I think he is now, and I'll tell you why. Here's why I think Steph is in my top 10. Because obviously, like, I thought for a while people overvalued the fact that he's far and away the greatest shooter of all time. And they're like, he changed the game. And it's like, sure, he changed the game. That doesn't mean he's a great all-around basketball player.
Well, so what are some deficiencies in his game?
Well, I think what he's really worked on and he's become better at is defense. But in those first...
Kevin, nobody is grading a fucking greatest of all time on their fucking defense.
They should.
No, they fucking shouldn't.
Yes, they should.
Otherwise, fucking Dennis Rodman would be in people's top 10s. Like, shut
We're
the
talking
fuck
about
up.
the best basketball players of all time.
Yes, we're talking about
then
the best
you're
player.
including defensive
okay,
prowess.
in my top 5, which one of them played defense?
Michael Jordan won like 6 all first teams.
And you've heard
Kobe.
why people have said why Mike got first teams, right? You've heard those Instagram clips. All right. So then shut up. You're talking about really
Michael
improved on his
Jordan
defense.
and
Steph
Kobe.
Curry can finish at the rim. He can shoot the mid-range. He can shoot threes. Oh, he can pass too. Like,
I agree.
you're fucking nitpicking.
But you watched the 2016 finals. You watched those finals. They were seeking him out in pick and roll and were going after him and exposing him in that finals. He got better at defense. He did. But he wasn't just like, okay, he was bad.
Yeah, Draymond missed 2 games in that series.
That's bullshit. I don't want to dive into that.
Teams help win championships. There's no
Yeah, yeah.
individual
You're right, of course.
that, like, yes, they bring you over the top, but like, yes, Andre Iguodala was phenomenal in the finals. Like, Kevin Durant was unstoppable. Mind you, they swept. I think they swept the Cavaliers.
Either 4-1 or 3-1. The gentleman sweep.
You're out here talking about fucking defense.
We're talking about for the top 5 of all time. I'm not saying he's not an incredible
Like,
player in the top
if
10.
Kevin Durant asked for a trade this summer, you're gonna be like, oh, nope, he's played on too many teams. Like, he's not in my top 10 anymore. Like,
that's what a lot of people say. But here's where where it really shifted for me for Steph. And you mentioned one was when he won that finals and basically put his dick on the table and was like, I am that motherfucking dude.
And then guess what he did this summer
exactly
in the
what
Olympics?
I was gonna say.
I was like,
put his shit on the table.
Because everybody's like, oh, these dudes are the up and coming, da 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 da. When they was down 20 against Serbia, all I knew is I seen that guy making threes and
night.
Yeah.
And then against France did the same fucking thing. Had big ones at the end, big shots at the end. It's like, this was France the finals?
Yeah.
Yeah. It happened in the finals too. It was so impressive to me. He was the best player on that team. And that's the best player. That's the best player in the world, really. So I got to give him his flowers there. Again, I know how stupid this sounds coming from me, but
yeah, he has improved on his defense. Nobody fucking cares, dude.
It's crazy to me, and I love Kobe. It's crazy to me that LeBron's not your second of all time.
Why?
Because I think it's impossible.
Let me tell you this. So
to me, it's impossible.
Kobe, like,
let me get my top 5.
I think when you see people in person, it like almost when you go see someone in concert. The next day, you're like blaring their music for that. I got to see before my first year in the league. It was Kobe's last year, and my agent had got me tickets to see his final game.
Oh, you were there
against the Utah Jazz, and I think he shot the ball 50 times. And when I mean, like when you got to sit there and watch, the first half he wasn't making shots, but as he was coming back in the second half, it was like the most happy I've been sitting in a stadium watching a game. It was like I got to see like Kobe put on a masterpiece of like work, and then it ended in the storybook ending. Like he hits the last second shot. It's like he had 20 plus years of work to like wrap it all up into like a storybook ending, which never happens, right?
Yeah.
And the way that actually like came full circle, I was like, this guy did it individually. He did it with Shaq. He did it without Shaq and stayed in one spot. You got to respect that. And no disrespect to LeBron. Like you went to Miami, you went to Cleveland,
Different era.
you went to LA.
Yeah.
No disrespect because you have done some amazing things, but there's always just something about staying in one place that is like, that's impressive.
I know. And if you would have asked me even 6 years ago, who's the greatest of all time, I'd say it's either MJ or Kobe. But now it's so hard because longevity it means something. And to be doing 22 years later, being he's a top 5 player in the league right now, meaning LeBron. It's hard for me to not put him as the greatest of all time. I had, by the way, I argue tooth and nail about MJ not being the greatest. I don't really believe that. I think if you pick MJ or LeBron at 1 or 2, I wouldn't say a word about it. I do think though, LeBron has surpassed Kobe. I think it's MJ, LeBron, Kobe, Kevin Durant. I'm just kidding, not Kevin Durant. Kevin, LeBron, who did I say?
That wouldn't even be mad at you, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's fucking.
I wouldn't put him top 5 of all time. I would probably put like a big man, like maybe even Shaq in there at like 4 or 5, and then probably Larry Bird also. I think Larry Bird's a little bit better than Magic Johnson. I give Shaq that run where he was the most dominant big man. I mean, I remember those games, and I remember like there was nothing you could do to stop Shaq. There was nothing. He was getting 30 points and 15 rebounds. There was nothing you could do.
Yeah, different era.
In a different era. But I do think, as much as I love Kobe, and I'm more of a fan of Kobe than I am of LeBron, I just think LeBron he's done things that no one will ever do again. It's like, we'll never see this shit ever.
Yeah, generational talent.
Okay, before we close, what are your NCAA picks? We did watch a little bit of this Iowa State game last night. Fell short to BYU, which is kind of a rough loss at home.
Yeah.
Who are you thinking? You got any like sleepers? You got any teams that you're like really think have a good shot?
It's hard for me to get around and to watch college basketball quite often. I think Auburn obviously has been extremely impressive. I think what Houston's been able to do over the last couple of years under Kelvin Sampson, defense travels. If they can still find a way to score and manufacture points, they'd be my
sleeper.
Yeah.
I think that's a great sleeper. I think a lot of people take that same idea and say St. John's can win, and St. John's is just one of the worst shooting teams.
That
league.
defense, you have to be able to make shots.
Yeah.
But Rick Pitino, credit to him. He's got guys.
72 years old, got these fucking kids. Yeah. Kadari Richmond on that team is one of the better players I coached against him in Brooklyn. He's a freaking dog.
Kevin,
6'7".
We'll always bring up high school sports, but yeah, no, for sure.
I was speaking of high school sports, we saw the Lou High guys. Anyway, yeah. I think you're on base with that. I think Auburn's going to be really good. They have the best player in the country, who actually started at Weber State, or not Weber State. Morgan. What's the one in
Morgan State?
Morgan State. I think that's where he started. And now he's the best player in the country. I think Auburn probably is the best bet to make. Florida looks pretty scary too. I think Florida could be like
huge 9-footer.
And like they play defense and they play in the SEC, so it'll be fun to see. Make your bets on MyBookie. Go to mybookie.com, use promo code GrillGuy, get half your deposit matched. Go make the bets.
Yeah, do it.
Sign up.
You heard it here first. Come on. March is coming up. It's March Madness. It's the best time of the year. Go sign up. MyBookie. Promo code
GrillGuy. This was good. April 4th, we're going to watch the Final Four together after your game with the Knicks. I'm forcing you to do that. I don't know if you knew that. Hopefully you'll be my friend.
on that note, thank you guys for joining us on another episode of the Bench Sheet Podcast. I'm George Niang. This is my co-host Kevin Spees, and we're out.
Out.